This episode includes explicit language, including a local term for female anatomy. We've chosen to keep it uncensored because the discussion is about why such words carry stigma and shame. Please listen with that context in mind.
All man they do all man they do this thing where we like waiting at this thing here, so you know it's at the top. Mommy, daddy business, whatever you want, call them. I don't know how censored this is because I would say
we have high rates of teenage pregnancy. We have high rates of rape. It still confuses me why we no one talk about this.
The desire is innately a part of human DNA. You can't be a human and you don't have these feelings. You get that sensation.
Let's say I go to the bank and co-workers are talking and wait till you hear them they talk about this now me woman then they are no one again. And I think that everything is so sexualized, yet the topic is taboo.
That helps to make our rape culture thrive. Because we're hypersexualized. You know how we have this saying, salon sweet, but usted? Nanette. Why is that a thing?
Welcome to Honestly Speaking, the podcast where we have honest conversations about the issues shaping our lives. I'm your host, Antonia Howard, and today we're talking about sex, sexual and reproductive health in Sierra Leone. Now, in our homes, our schools, our communities, and even in public policy, sexuality is often treated as taboo, something we don't talk about. We know they talk about it, we know they explain it, and it's certainly not normalized. But this silence comes at a cost. High rates of teenage and unwanted or unplanned pregnancies, preventable infections and illnesses, and in worst cases, we have deaths from unsafe terminations. So today we're asking, why does sexuality education or awareness matter for Sierra Leone's future? And perhaps more importantly, how do we begin to talk about it openly and honestly? My guest today is Leanne Mahota Rizk. She is a public health professional specialized in sexual and reproductive health, and she has spent years working in youth health and education, breaking through barriers of stigma and silence to ensure young people have the knowledge and services they need. Welcome to Honestly Speaking, Leanne.
Thank you.
So as I said in my intro, this topic, not something where I wouldn't say we're willing to talk about, but it's just not discussed, it's not normalized. And even in this space of honestly speaking, I contemplated how much to say,
Right.
how to say it so that it's digestible. Why do you think sex or sexuality is such a taboo topic in Sierra Leone?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. Because most people, they want to talk this talk, but they just don't, they're not able to push through the stigma of it all and thinking, what would people say? Are people ready? But I think the best thing is to just start the conversation. So I'm glad we're here starting the conversation. I don't know how far you want to take them because I'm willing to take it all the way. And I think anybody who's having me know that. And also, the month of September, I mean, as luck would have it, is actually Sexual Health Awareness Month. This is very appropriate, honestly speaking. Good on the timing. Salon is not an anomaly. It's not strange that this is a taboo subject. Even in Western cultures where we feel like they're so advanced, it's still taboo. There's still much to be explored, much to do in terms of work on pushing the agenda forward so that we can have a culture that is not a rape-centered type of culture, because that is universal at this point. There's very few societies that operate in a space of consent culture. And that's one of the biggest issues, because the lack of consent and the idea that sex is somehow, owed to some people, or it's someone's birthright to get sex based off of gender or status or whatever, that type of thinking is detrimental. So talking about sex is only working in the opposite direction. And people in power want to stay in power. So why would they ever want, so we have to think about it in that way because um, sex and being sexually liberated is exactly that, is liberation, which equals power. And people are afraid of that. People don't want people to know that they have power within. And so Sierra Leone is not different in any other way. But the point is, we're small. There's a lot of tragedy that happens. It could be very much avoided um, if we had, honest, frank, non-judgmental conversations. But I would argue that people often say we're not ready, but is that true? We're not ready. I mean, everyone is doing it. All man they do all man they do the thing. This thing where we like what's it at this thing, yeah. So it's at it. So mommy, daddy business, whatever you want, call them. I don't know how censored this is because I would say, but I just said it. So, and these are the things. So like I really want to reach the people and make sure that it is understood. Make sure that people fully digest what I'm saying, whether it makes you uncomfortable. And really, what we want is discomfort. You want to feel uncomfortable because you want to push through this barrier that keeps holding us back, this circle and cycle of silence that keeps us stagnant in this place where we're stuck and we keep having these things and people they shumu shumu and the things that, keep our girls from thriving and keep our boys thinking that things belong to them or other people are property and just the things that, make this society they go bien, honestly.
Yeah. Do you think um when we eventually have to have the discussion about sex, or sometimes it's even the consequences of sex that na ain't go end up make we talk, maybe a young girl has been raped or sexually molested, now that time we go talk, but that's when we have these conversations. Do you think that not having these conversations or even the language to talk about it somewhat contributes to this rape culture?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. 10,000%. I think that even the approach of talking about it from a reactive standpoint, like past something get for happen before we jump in and begin to say, oh, come talk to me, gal picking in our school. I mean, those are the kind of phone calls I get, right? After something has happened, something has transpired, there's been some scandal on campus, and somebody will say, oh, we need person for can talk to them. And they'll start even isolating and be like, oh, now the girls them for talk to because the girls and I didn't get the problem, now they can corner the boys them, now then they and I always be like, you cannot have a one-sided conversation. My thing is, I wish we could get to a place where we start having proactive conversations. I don't need to wait until a thing happens because we know it's gonna happen because we all know motaman. We all know humans, we're all sexual beings. I like to say in English, we're sexual beings from the womb to the tomb. So from birth until death, we are sexual beings. Whether you are actively having sex or not, we are sexual beings because pleasure, the desire, is innately a part of human DNA. You can't be a human and you don't have these feelings. You to feel, you to get that sensation. And so these are things that you cannot deny, right? And what are the answers to this? Who is helping guiding you through this? When I have a 2-year-old or a 4-year-old who's learning language and who's going and is asking, where do babies come from? And you sit there and say, someone drops it off, or not God give me, or it's in my, it comes through my stomach, or I sneeze it out. There's so many stories globally people have told children to further confuse because that's all it is. You know what I'm saying? And instead of you saying something as simple as, well, it's when two adults love each other, they're together, and then they do something where it allows them both to meet. And when they meet in a special way, there is something that happens that causes a baby to then grow in mommy's, you could say stomach for depending on the age, but it's really not a stomach. But in her womb, in her body, in her uterus, if you want to get technical. But like the thing is, at the end of the day, the kid is going to start hearing things from peers and from the media, and then it's going to conflict with what they've been taught with people that they love. And then it starts to become an internal struggle. I don't think people get it. Like, people don't get that that's more damaging than it is good. And so even if you need help, find help. Go online. If you have connection to someone like me, use me. You know what I'm saying? But there are so many resources that could guide you through as a parent, as a teacher, as a confidant, as a guardian, whatever you are in a young person's life. And just think about how confusing it was for you, how you had to navigate, who you had to depend on for sometimes inaccurate information that they're giving you based off of their opinion or whatever they had to go through. I think it is critical for us to be proactive and also to center pleasure because what feels good always makes sense. Always makes sense. I don't need for explain. I don't if this chop sweet, you dey eat her. If it bitter, you know they eat her. You know what I mean, eh? So like it's like so simple if you really center pleasure because things that give you joy is what you should be always attaining for at any level or any stage of your life.
Two questions come to mind then, because where you say, when you talk about centering pleasure, for the society where we find ourselves, like in Sierra Leone, where we have people who hold on to like religious beliefs and their faiths and what the Bible says about sex, what the Quran says about sex, and just the general cultural approach to it, it's hard for you to have that discussion about centering pleasure. So how do we rationalize? How do we navigate that?
Who created orgasms? Who created that? Not a devil? No, it's not. Who created orgasms? It is God. It is the creator. It's Allah. Whoever you and whatever you call and however you worship. It is a gift. It is a gift that was given to us. And shame on us for not realizing that gift, for not using that gift, for not understanding that gift was given to us to be used, right? But yes, is there an appropriate time? Sure, appropriate time, appropriate place. Those things can be discussed depending on the situation. But you should always, and I mean, orgasm is just one form of pleasure, but like I'm just using that as an example because it's the extreme version of what I would be saying to people. You know, my thing is, these things were given to us, if you're thinking from a faith-based perspective, given to us to use, to have, to experience.
For people who have religious beliefs, sex is something sacred. Sex is something that should happen. I say should because the evidence is undeniable. Undeniable evidence exists that it doesn't happen only between husband and wife. Then they own
undeniable.
Let someone deny it.
Yeah.
And you know,
and then we use salon as an example. Case done. Don't look.
There's undeniable evidence that this happens between two people who are unmarried. And so when you talk about sex, I think that also maybe contributes to why it's a taboo, which it really shouldn't be, because we have high rates of teenage pregnancy. We have high rates of rape and sexual harassment, sexual molestation, you name it. And so it still confuses me why we no one talk about this.
Yeah.
Why don't we want to name it and talk about it with our children, with young people? What is the appropriate age? When do you think it is appropriate to start talking about sex?
So I think that varies. Like I said, it also varies on a few things. It varies on the child themselves and their level of curiosity if they're bringing. Because what I like to tell parents, if I'm speaking specifically to parents, is there's things called teachable moments, right? Teachable moments is not one specific time when you're looking, right? It's just happening. Una sidom na pala, una they watch a show, a Nigerian film, let me just put it in that kid, as they start kissing. Your child is there, right? And if you look over to your child and you notice some discomfort, you notice addition, some kind of curiosity, you notice some kind of interest in this particular part of the film, you should use that as a teachable moment. You can even pause and be like, what thing just happened? Do you know what they were doing? Ask your child, and hopefully you have that kind of connection with your child that they feel comfortable continuing that conversation. If they don't, then that's something deeper that you need to explore. But just ask, what was going on? Oh, they're kissing. Oh, what do you know about kissing? Right? What do you think it means to kiss somebody? Would you kiss your teacher? No. Would you kiss mommy? Yes. But would you kiss me like that? No. What kind of kissing do you think that is? You know, and see what they say, because oftentimes we underestimate children. They know a lot. They've learned a lot. They put two and two things together. But it's moments like that that help you to guide them, right? You could say, yeah, they're kissing because maybe they love each other. They're kissing because kissing is a way people show that they care sometimes, but kissing is not appropriate in these situations. That's a conversation. That could happen with a child, like a young child, right? There's also moments where I feel like with younger children, like much younger children, and I would say like nursery, like when you're just starting to learn how to speak, I think there's certain things that should not be missed. So like good touch, bad touch, these are things that are basic level of introduction into the sexual realm of things, because this is now centering safety. So when you talk about good touch, bad touch, you can't talk about good touch, bad touch without properly naming part. Naming the part. It can't be like, we didn't touch you private, we didn't touch that thing day, we didn't touch you cookie, we didn't touch you biscuits, we didn't touch you pocketbook. Like, you can't say those words, right? There are even books that can help you with this. There's books that you can order off of Amazon that really help with helping you understand and talk to your child about how to label certain parts. And what are red zones? Like, what is a red zone? What is a green zone? What is a yellow zone? When should you talk to me? When should you let me know? When you should scream for help? When are those moments? What are you waiting for? You're waiting for those things to happen, then let them know? What is it that we're really trying to do? Are we preparing them? We know this society, we know where we are, right? Molestation is very common. It's almost part of how we do. It's almost part of our culture in a way. And then keeping it silent is also part of the culture. So if you are one of those people who are new parents and you really want to break that, what I'm advising you to do is not wait. Is not wait. Good touch, bad touch, identifying your body parts, calling things by their names, irrespective of how your granny feel, of how your auntie feel, of how the teacher feel. Let them kick rocks. It's your baby.
I'm thinking about what are some things that we're doing now that you think are that may be harmful to how we're raising children, even not to even children now, Seth, even to we Seth as young people, say between 20 and 30. We don't talk about, language and how teaching your child how to name body parts and teaching your child within a good touch, bad touch. But I also think about sexualizing, like how we sexualize children. That's also something I see happening. Like posting go post in Peking in picture. And then when you read the comments, oh, this nami man, this nami wife, child is probably 3 years old or 4 years old. And that also goes, I can go now, let's say I go to the bank and co-workers are talking and what do you hear then they talk about, this Danny, I know anti again. These are co-workers. Yes, these are co-workers. This nami woman, Dandy, I know anti again. And I think that we are unable to have other types of relationships or unable to even talk about other types of relationships. And everything is so sexualized, yet the topic is taboo. Dande can confuse me.
Big time. Big time. I feel like I said, Sierra Leone we are hypersexualized. We're a hypersexualized community or society. And then you mix that with the fact that, and of course, that helps to make our rape culture thrive because we're hypersexualized, because we know that, you know how we have this saying, salon sweets, but usted, Nanette. Why is that a thing? Why is that a thing? And we know why it's a thing. Because we like to be in the dark. we don't like shit to be in the light. We don't want anyone to perceive us in a way when it's inappropriate, when we're in church or when people are supposed to be looking professional with my suits on, and all these things. But what we're texting, what we with the Congo sa, we know say it's not reflective of what we're trying to portray, right? The thing about it is that, again, this helps people who are in power stay in power. It's really a power dynamic. There's this book that I love. It's called Pleasure Politics. Pleasure Politics. And then, reading that book really helps to break down the concepts that we hold so dear, like these cultural things that make situations so difficult. We can't talk about sex. We can't talk about this. We can't just name a thing because it's not acceptable by our society. So Sierra Leone is just one of those places where we're stuck. We're stuck, but intentionally stuck. It's not we're stuck and we don't know we're stuck. We're stuck and it's comfortable to be stuck because that's exactly how traditions thrive. This is how things stay familiar. This is how progression does not happen, right? Because when these things are not talked about, we don't have to break a sweat. We don't have to call people out. We don't have to, you know, all of the scandals, all of the things that happens. Sure, like these things are happening, and like for example, we they talk about how we over sexualize. Picking and day way, when you go picking birthday party, certain songs and go come on where they actually have a boy child and a girl child, and they're like grinding and dancing and shaking broke waists. And you're like, uh, this is only a reflection on the big people that were in their life. Only a reflection on the big people, but it's sad. Because in moments where they go catch you do something, the kind of beats and humiliation you will get is ridiculous. The girl who was in high school who got caught with Captain Ban and all the things, and she got ridiculed and everybody talked about it, and
then check all the girls then at the school and
and go make sure say like then just shame the gal for being smart, for being proactive in her own life and saying I don't want to be pregnant. What is wrong with that? She should be applauded. I find it hard, but I just know that it's never going to stop me from speaking. It's never going to stop me from speaking this truth. This truth is life-saving. And I feel like it should be in every school curriculum. I think it's just as important as learning math or English because this is a life skill. It's a life skill. It actually saves your life.
Yeah, you know, the whole thing about sexuality is just so weird for me how we can approach an salon. And this is something that I truly believe that we shouldn't shy away from talking about, because whether we talk about it or not, the evidence of its consequences are glaring. Like Dandeyon, we really cannot deny it. When you talked about this girl, for example, who even get Captain Ban apparently, and the teacher been the beat him and she started bleeding. And then this all of a sudden became a cause for concern, and they checked the other girls in the school. And some of them also had contraceptives. It makes me think about the stigma that comes with, even when you have the knowledge, because these are girls who obviously
had the knowledge.
Yeah, they have the knowledge. They're probably sexually active, and they understand that in order to not get pregnant and then have to drop out of school because of also stigma, they've taken a decision to protect themselves. So even when young people have the knowledge, there are these societal barriers that prevent us from accessing services. How do we begin to address that?
It's unfortunate that they had to be shamed for basically planning their lives, for making a concerted effort to not be a victim. You know what I'm saying? And also understanding that relying on a partner or saying that I would just use condoms when we're in a society where this is rape culture and men dominate, and men will say, no, I'm not using no condom, and they will make you feel ashamed. And if you refuse to have sex, maybe they'll force you. Or maybe they'll just ostracize you. I mean, there's so many consequences. And I feel like for them to be brave enough and bold enough to make that decision, I mean, I am proud of them. I wish they could watch this and know that, I'm proud of you for making this decision. I'm proud of you for sticking up for what you think is right for your future, because now you get Yusuf. Now you get Yusuf. And we don't know your situation. Those teachers don't know. And I hope and pray that you're able to come out of this stronger. You know what I'm saying? It's a damn shame in 2025.
Right. If when I saw the story, I couldn't clarify whether this happiness alone, but this is not something, this not something we no go happiness alone. Anyway, this is something that is likely to happen. And I thought, even if then girl picking there, even if they didn't have boyfriends or weren't involved in any consensual sexual relationship, there is a high probability that they're being abused. Dan they own, we cannot deny it. There's a that they're even being abused in school, that
At
at home.
Yeah.
You don't know. And so that is what makes it really important for us to have this conversation.
Yeah.
And imagine if these girls don't have the education, don't have the access to the services, and they get raped, and they get pregnant, and so the cycle, whatever, it just
There's no need to imagine. It's reality for many. So it's happening as we speak.
Yeah. When we often talk about when we talk about rape culture, and when we talk about sex, I find that the conversation often centers girls and women and our decisions, the decisions we make. And me self, I don't know how this conversation often goes with boys. What conversation are we having with boys and men?
Good question. What conversations are we having with boys and men? I think, for me, first of all, I'm a mother of boys. So I talk to my boys all the time. And I've had few opportunities to talk to male-only audiences, very few, because a lot of times people don't think that it's something that is needed in Sierra Leone. But like I've gone to grammar school. I've gone to a few other schools where it's co-ed too. And I think for me, the conversation needs to be the same with boys, because let's not forget that majority of boys, their first time having sex is usually with an adult. It's usually with an adult, someone who's older than them, someone who is, I would say forcing, but maybe not forcing, but coercing them into a situation where they had to go along with it, but they weren't necessarily ready. They didn't initiate that. Um, and so when you do have conversations with boys, and I ask them, when you had sex for the very first time, who was that with? How was that? Was it a good experience? And a lot of times they would say no. I mean, they might be joking, because it's uncomfortable for them, but you can see later on that it wasn't really something that they initiated, something that they wanted. Most stories that I've heard so far. So I think there is a lot of brokenness on both sides. I mean, it's not one versus the other. I think what we do have to hold in terms of sexuality and culturally, societally, we encourage boys to enjoy. That whole pleasure conversation doesn't happen with girls. That pleasure conversations happens with boys a lot more than girls. So we are basically saying that men are meant to enjoy and women are meant to uh, abide, are meant to service. Where is our pleasure? Where is what about us? Do we not enjoy? Are we not uh, are we not people? Do we not get to enjoy that part of our lives? Why should we be thinking we must do this in service? To who? To whom? You know what I'm saying? Who are we serving if it's not God? You know what I'm saying? If it's na mo time we dey solve, so na the man then we dey solve. I mean, this is traditionally what I'm saying has gone on. But what I'm saying is I feel like the shift has to happen where we both have to understand that when we are talking about sexual sexual behavior of any kind, right? And we want to get away from a rape culture. We want to start to get to a place where we're talking about consent. We have to understand that you cannot do that without centering pleasure because pleasure is leading you. That is leading you. When it feels good, you're going to go for it, right? But you also have to recognize that it must be feeling good to this other person that you're wanting this to happen with. And you can't know that if they're silent. You can't know that if they're crying, if they're looking down, if they're scared, if they're, if place dark, they don't know what's happening, or they're drugged, or they're high. You can't possibly think that that is consent. Assumptions shouldn't be made. You should be the person asking, "You okay? Like continue? You comfortable? You okay? You good? You want to take a break?" I mean, it sounds crazy. It sounds stupid. It sounds like, oh, but really, what are we trying to do? Like, what are we trying to prove by not asking these questions?
Mm.
What are you saying about yourself by assuming people want to continue? When someone is showing you signs, or even if they're not showing you signs, but what if the words that's coming out of their mouth is no, and you're ignoring that because they're wet, because their nipples are hard, whatever the case is that we have thinking like, oh, that means, what does that mean? Because if me get me safe, not me for tell you say proceed. You know what I'm saying? If me get me safe, but if you did tell me say now you get me, that's how I know that you're going to be ignoring the words coming out of my mouth when I'm like, stop, okay, do so. Like, let me chill. Can we chill for a second? And you're just ignoring me. Like I know they like me not dummy. I know they talk. So I mean, I think these are the things, and I use these examples because I want people to know that these are real life situations people deal with on a daily basis, whether it's with your boyfriend or partner, or a stranger, or the guy down the street, you uncle, you papa, like the amounts of interactions sexually that people, I don't want to say women, but people have to endure. At work with a colleague who keeps making passes at you, you telling them no, come on before me, like move, and they're not listening to you. Boys need to be part of this conversation. Like those, they miss the cues. They don't get it. Like it's not connecting because what they have been conditioned to think is that women do these things in service, like I said before. So it's not about their pleasure. It's not about what they want. It's about what I want because they want me.
So how do we normalize conversations about sex, sexual and reproductive health? How do we begin to change that?
I think normalizing it is, first of all, by starting it. Like you have to start somewhere. Even though schools will bring me to come in, and I don't mind doing that, but usually it's a one-off situation. It's not a continuous thing where, the kids are expecting it and they know that this is part of something that the school has now accepted as this is something important to us because we want our kids to thrive, right? You want your kids to thrive in every part of their lives, not just academically. It's not just sports, you know? So I think that's one, if we're talking from like a school or program perspective. But I feel like at home, as I said before, using the teachable moments, you do not have to wait for something to happen. And you shouldn't wait for something to happen. I discourage that. I really think it should be something where, there's a book, there's a scandal at school. Do you know these people? Do you know what happened? Oh, there was a video that came out. Oh, what happened in the video? Oh, this and that. Oh, so what do you think about that? Do you think it's cool for someone to be recorded without their consent, without their knowledge, even if they wanted to do whatever it is that they were doing? And how would you feel if that happened to you? What do you think should happen, or what was happening in the video? Like these are the things I feel like, because it's inevitable that these things are going to occur.
But you see, when it's hard for parents who don't have the language or the tools or the education, or even just parents who aren't comfortable because of their own experience, because maybe they didn't have many conversations about sex, if any. And this wasn't a normal part of their growing up. So I struggle to see how that would be possible for parents to actually want to have these conversations.
I know. I think that it's always a struggle because, like I said, how we've been, taught and how then bring we up, and how people that men, you're not supposed to talk about these things. You're not comfortable talking about these things. And the reason why I started with schools is because I feel like there is a responsibility, a shared responsibility with, your education, the education system, and with the education system at home, and they should complement each other. So oftentimes I encourage schools to, send out letters to parents for opt out and say, we believe that our kids, the kids at this school should have access to this education. If you are a parent and you feel like your child should not have access to this education, you can opt out, right? I never say like opt in. I think it should always be an opt out. So the parent actually get for sidom and say, I don't want me picking for know this information. And 9 times out of 10, a parent would say, La left I go, because I know I can't do it. You know what I'm saying? La left I go na the class because I know say me no go able to do it. And so I think I really want to encourage parents who are not comfortable to find resources, as I said. Go online, try to see if you can find something that helps you introduce these topics. If you get somebody in your life that you feel like is more comfortable with these things, ask them for help you, for battle you. Like there are so many ways to do it. You might have like another auntie or a sister or somebody who seems to be more in line with these things. I think that that's the way to go. But I don't think the way to go is to keep silent, to continue to shame your child, and when I say shame, like if you touch man, you will get belly, where you get belly, how they dreb you. Like this type of thing don't work. What is that? We know plenty of people who lived in those households, right? And that did not work. So don't just fall into the same cycle of the shame, blame game that we do. We need to be more proactive. And again, I say this because if we not protect, we want protect we picking them. Like this actually they save a life. Like this is critical. It's critical because it helps them to discern. It helps them to be a judge and be able to judge and make decision, weigh the term arise like this. mm, because I know the consequences are A, B, and C. Because I know that this does not feel good and I'm not going to do something that doesn't feel good. I'm going to reverse and go back. You understand? But if I don't know this, I'm going to allow anybody to just come and make big fool business because I say, oh well, me no be sabi, I no be understand. I mean, go give pikin motor car, say let it drive him, and then ever show him the rules of the road. Ever show him what for do, how for trafficate, how for statica. Like that statica, that trafficate, all you for don't do one before he ever touch the steering wheel.
Yeah.
You understand? So it's to me, it's the same thing. It's inevitable. We're sexual beings. We're gonna have sex. How many people say, me people they don't ever talk sex about me, but the day where I married, all man expect me for doing. I don't want they do them. I don't know what he for do. Like people have those stories.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm not saying go in the bedroom and say, put her inside so make so. I'm not saying that. I mean, you could, but but I'm saying have conversations. Tell them about things that you wish you would have known. Give them your own stories. That's another thing. Share your own personal stories. Say, we have been small. The first, like if you're not mama to gal picking and say your mama not be able to talk to you about period or mess, where they mess. Tell them, say, I've been small. Like, this is my experience. Like, where I first mess, I be in at school, I get accidents, I feel so bad. I don't go want to make that day happen to you. So, look bad. Make her know if it happen, I go help you. Even sometimes I go can near you that day. Like, just share you've been there before. Remember, we've been there before. Share your experience.
Yeah.
Share your experience. Even if you don't get the words them, you get story. You get all man get story.
Right. Talking about not having the word language, now one of the tools. It's something we use to talk about or not talk about, to not talk about sex or sexuality or reproductive health. Waiting are some of the word them. What do you use to educate people about sexual the parts of the body and waiting parents they need for know so that they go able to teach them, picking them how to name these body parts and why it's important.
Yeah. So as I said before, it's life-saving to teach your child about their body parts. Unfortunately, fortunately, me no make Creole. I'm not a founder of the language. I don't know. We just stumbled upon this Creole language of ours. But typically when I go to like schools and things, I'll ask, one of my icebreakers is, okay, I'm going to name a body part in English, the proper word. And then I want you now to respond in the slang term, the Creole term, the Mende term, the Timni term, whatever that you know for this body part. So I will go, and I start with breast and, you eat Bobby and you eat this, that, whatever. And they get all them funny, funny names. The kids will be laughing and laughing and laughing. I'm like, okay, fine, Bobby, fine. The words with the most slang, the most code are the ones we try so hard to hide, for cover. There's shame. There's shame, right? When I get to like penis, there's words too for penis, but I don't get the same level of shame with penis. And so then you also start to see that there is some imbalance, right? I think so. My thing is, our words are our words. We did not invent these words. Bombo is supposedly a cuss word, and how can it be a cuss word? But yes, it is a part of my body. It is a body part, like my nose, like my elbow. I say this to them. I said it's just as important as my elbow, as my nose, maybe even more important. Why do you think? And I'll tell them, I'll ask. I was like, especially high school. I'm like, so why do you think in our society it is deemed as a curse word? Why do you think that the people who invented this language would do that to us? Why? And why are we continuing to make this a thing? Why are we doing that? And then, of course, you'll hear the girls now say, oh, because you were. Like, this is a thing now. Like, any side where I go, I say, so listen to you, Steph. You, the cause you say, you now, this thing, yeah, so now, or something. What does that really say about how we feel about ourselves? This is an important thing, something that what's in it make we woman, what's in it make you gal picking. I said, but the fact that you who own it, you don't understand it fine. You not believe say it fine. Upside down come on. You won't hear a man say his shit is ugly. He would not be saying that. He will not be saying that. Even on his worst day, he won't say that shit. At the core of it, it's about self, right? Like it's about self. Now you gay, you self. How can you talk about yourself saying you ugly? Any part of your body. Alexef Skazen dede, bleeding Mac dede. I don't give a damn. Like, why would you say that about yourself?
Then a child grows up believing that this part of the body is taboo and they're unable to express themselves. And the cycle just continues. And so when we talk about, because now we talk about like schools, we're talking about homes and communities, like on a national level, what do you think is important for us when if we're thinking about how to make this topic, this subject, much more normalized?
Yeah. On a national level, I definitely feel like it starts with policy. Our policymakers, our government officials should really take their time to understand that there's evidence. There's evidence, statistical data that supports the idea that when you know better, you do better in any aspect of your life. including sexually. So if I don't have access, if we pikin and don't get access to sexual education, sexuality education, comprehensive sexuality education, how can they do better? How can STI rates reduce? How can teenage pregnancy reduce? How can we stop having all these rape cases? How can we do that? And if we don't have any policies that make sure that they support that evidence, based off of the evidence, we're trying to offer our children in Sierra Leone a better and brighter future. And we want them to be healthy and happy and whole. I think that requires a level of understanding from the policymakers. We need to have parents that also understand that. I believe that parents and older people should have sex ed. I think there should be adult sex ed.
Do you have examples of communities that you've worked in, like some tool that way you don't give them, maybe conversations that you've had, that things changed significantly? Do you have examples of that? Like, what can you point to as testaments of this work?
I think for me, my biggest reward in doing this work is really when I see young people come to me and be like, "Ah, Miss Leanne or Auntie Leanne, like I'm so glad that you can talk to me about this thing because now I feel better about certain thing the way I've been for go through or they start calling me and asking me, Auntie Leanne, can you help me? I want to make appointments. You understand? I feel like these are key responses that are actionable that people start that means that there's some sort of behavior change. Like, I'm not just talking to talk. People are leaving thinking, "How can I incorporate some of this in my life?" When the boys are coming to me asking me more about how would I know if my girlfriend want make I continue or I make I continue, wetin are some of these signs or wetin I for look for Auntie Leanne? And I'll tell them and I'm like, "Yeah, what are you currently seeing? How is she responding now?" You know what I'm saying? Why would they come and ask me if they didn't think that this was something that they should be trying to change, trying to change. You
Right.
understand? And to me, that means that I'm not doing this work in vain. So I'm grateful for that.
Before you go, tell us about your T-shirt for
Yeah.
for people who are for people who are
I
listening.
don't spell out correctly, but
She's wearing a T-shirt with the
Yes.
word Borka, Borka, but
Yes.
usually they spell it Boro.
Or sometimes they put a G. I don't know. So it depends.
GBOR.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. But burka obviously has been a derogatory term that ostracized women traditionally, historically, who did not enter secret society, to make them feel guilty or ashamed because they are not a part of the society. They're not in, right? But I have for a long time wanted to take this word and wanted to reclaim this word and wanted to empower other women who might be on the burka side. And to say that we can reclaim it and, be the uncut woman, who doesn't care about society standards and who is really their ancestors' wildest dreams. And I pray that, all the podcasts them can unite and even the one away they inside, we all be together. Because really that's the only way that things can get better anyway. But yes.
Yeah, it's indeed a very, very topical conversation in Sierra Leone, especially currently, because of the ECOWAS ruling a month ago or so. And that's a conversation I'm looking forward to having here on Honestly Speaking. But thank you so much for your time, Leanne.
Thank you for having me, even though I had to slide in the DMs.
It was going to happen. I promise you, it was going to happen. But you just fast track the process.
I know.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I hope that this conversation has been enlightening for people who are listening, even if you not agree. And this is what I always say. Even if you don't agree with everything that's been said, I think it's important that you begin to reconsider. If I hope say this conversation don't make you begin think about some approach, some behavior, some language way they use, and that's For me, that's the most important thing. You don't have to agree, but at least think about it. So thank you. Thank you for your time, Leanne. And this has been Honestly Speaking. We've been recording at Black Lion Production Studio. And I have been your host. My name is Antonia Howard. Until next time. Bye. That's it for today's episode of Honestly Speaking. Thank you for listening and being a part of these important conversations. If you've enjoyed today's discussion, please like and share. And if you're feeling inspired, do leave a review. I'd love to hear what you think. And of course, carry on the conversation online. Share your thoughts, experiences, and ideas using #HonestlySpeakingSL. Until next time, stay curious, stay engaged, and stay honest.